Welcome back everyone. Today we're talking about a topic which is quite key for a lot of you, I imagine, and it's about money and relationships. Now, money plays a really key part in all relationships, really, whether that is a romantic relationship, a familial relationship, a friendship. Every relationship you have will have some sort of monetary element to it. But the key one that I'm going to be talking about today is a romantic relationship. So whether that's a partnership, a marriage, whatever sort of financial relationship you have with the person that you're in a long-term relationship with. Now, this is really important because money can be used as a form of abuse in terms of keeping it from people or dictating to them how they should be spending it or what they should or shouldn't be doing with it. I am really aware of that, and hopefully some of these points can help you if you're in sort of perhaps an unfair financial relationship with your partner. Perhaps this can give you some ideas for how to even that out, how to become mutually open and even in your financial relationship, because having done that will help, or should help, hopefully help you to harmonize your relationship and make for a happier partnership. So there are several points I'm going to cover here. I'll just talk through each one at a time, and hopefully you can get some insight into what you can do to make your romantic relationship a bit healthier in terms of finance. So the first point here is to know each other's financial habits. One of you might be a spender, one of you might be a saver, you both might be spenders, you both might be savers, one of you might have a lot of debt, etc., etc. We all have slightly different relationships with money independently, but it's really important to know how your other half, what's their relationship with money, and just know what they do with it, or are they open about what they do? Are they a bit secretive about what they do? Do they like to go on spending sprees, or actually are they quite frugal when they like to save and put pockets of money away? There's no right or wrong to what you do with your money. That's entirely up to you. There are obviously some better spending habits than others, and there are some things you could perhaps do better that you're maybe not doing, but that's not to create an argument with your other half. It's just to find out what sort of person they are in terms of their money spending habits, if you don't already know that, and be open and honest with them as well about what your habits are like, because if you know that from the outset, then hopefully that can put you in good stead for the future in terms of financial planning and things like that. Now, point number two, you can go two ways here. You can either appoint a financial CEO in your relationship, or you can agree to be mutually accountable. I think most financial relationships these days, people tend to want to be mutual in terms of their finances, but I know a lot of couples who actually one of them prefers to take the lead and one of them is happy, the other one is happy for them to do that. So that, again, there's no right or wrong, but if you are the one taking responsibility for the financial decisions in your household, the other person in the relationship has to be happy for you to do that. That is why sometimes a sort of a mutual arrangement can be better, therefore you're both sort of in agreement about what to do with money and the decisions that you make. But again, there's no right or wrong answer, each to their own. Now we're going to talk about joint accounts. A lot of people tend to think that they should keep their money in their own accounts and they don't like to put their money or pool it with their partners, but actually joint accounts can be really helpful. They can help to build that trust element with that other person. You both have access to them. You can both see what's going in and out every month, and it can be especially helpful for things like mortgage or rent, council tax, energy, all those sorts of things. So it can be a really good way to sort of have that sort of spending or savings pot that you can both see, and it's a really open and honest money pot that you can both have access to. And it also gets you into good financial habits in terms of what money you're putting into it to cover those expenses. That's another point I'll cover shortly. But joint accounts can be a very good thing in terms of building trust within a relationship, especially when it comes to money. Now, this is the point about deciding how to best split financial bills in the household. Now, this can be done in several different ways. There's no right or wrong way, and you'll hear me say that about most of these points. Probably the unfairest way is to do a 50-50 split, because rarely are there two people in a household that earn identical salaries. So generally one person will be earning more or less than the other, and because of that, perhaps it's better to put a percentage of your salary in. Or I've heard of scenarios where one person covers the mortgage and the other person covers all the food bills and the other expenses. Again, there are many different ways you can do it, but it's trying to work out what's the fairest way to split your income so that you're both pooling evenly, and that doesn't mean 50-50, but just based on your income, how is the fairest way to split those bills. So sit down and work it out between you, and you have to both be happy with that decision, but it must be fair. Now, debt is a key one here as well. So if you come into a relationship and perhaps money's not something you like to talk about very often, but really it's something that you should be discussing on a regular basis, and debt is something that you should really be in the know about. You might have debt, whether that's credit cards or loans, or your partner might have them, or other mortgages and other properties, or whatever it is. You must be open and honest about your debt, especially actually if it's a lopsided debt that's going on. So perhaps one of you has a lot more debt than the other. And then it's the decision about who should repay that debt. It might be the person with the most debt in the relationship is actually earning less and so is finding it hard to chip away at it and pay it back. But then the person earning more in the relationship might see it unfair that they have to then pay the debt back. But if your long-term goal is to pay off a mortgage or to save for a house or to whatever you want to do with your money, clearing that debt is going to be vital to your financial planning. So don't necessarily think that clearing your partner's debt is unfair on you. If that's going to help you push you forwards and get you to the right place in your financial journey, then it might be something to think about. Sitting down and having regular talks about money is also very important. These don't have to be daily or weekly or monthly or, however often you want to talk about it. Personally, myself and my husband, we sit down and talk about money all the time, but that's because it's part of my job and it's what I do. So, it comes quite naturally to me. But a lot of people don't like talking about money, and this can be where problems lie. It's really important to be open and honest with each other. And if you do find that actually you don't like talking about money, perhaps it would be a good idea to book into your diary 6 monthly talks so you can just sit down and have a review of everything and just see how things go. This can be particularly helpful if you've, say, just moved house and all your expenses are up in the air and, you just want to see how things settle down. And then it's good to monitor that on an ongoing basis. So perhaps booking something into your calendar can be a helpful way to do that and to make sure you keep doing it long term. It can also be a good way to make sure you're keeping on top of your goals and to perhaps review your financial goals to see how you're getting on and if they need tweaking. Budgeting can also be reviewed at this point as well. It's also important in your money talks to build in doomsday planning. So to make sure you have those savings in place so that if something were to go wrong, you have those cash savings that you can go to and you can get that money if you should need it. So that's why it's really important to have a savings pot or to be saving monthly into a savings pot, whether that's an individual pot you each have or whether it's a joint savings pot, whatever works for you. But it is important that you have that emergency fund, that doomsday fund, somewhere that you can easily get, and it's important to make sure that is top of your financial planning checklist. There can also be the perhaps awkward conversation about what's mine, what's yours and what's ours, but this is something again that you need to establish early on. You can go back and look at the other points that I've just spoken about and things like joint accounts and splitting bills and debt and things like that. That all comes essentially down to mine, yours and ours and those talks and those decisions. But perhaps from the word go, it's good to work out what you'll be each keeping in terms of money, what you will be pooling in terms of your own resources and what you will be paying for. Work that out from the word go, and then if you need to, you can tweak that later on, but it is important that you have those conversations about money as soon as you can. Now, if you have children, you certainly know that they are expensive, but it's key to not let them run the roost. Obviously, there are things you will need to pay for them, and as they get older, there will be school trips and expenses that you will need to pay for if you want them to have those experiences. But it's important that you keep an eye on the finances and you run the show for them, essentially. I'm well aware that children can demand a lot from you, and certainly where finances are concerned, children don't have that appreciation of money and what it means. So here again is where education can come in as well. Financial education for children is so key here, and it's really important to start cluing them up about money and finances as early as you can to get them on board with your discussions and your thinking about money. Be as open and honest with them as you can possibly be, and then they will start to see why you're making the decisions you are, and just talk through your finances with them as much as you want to anyway, and then at least they should start to appreciate what you're doing and why you're doing it. They'll also understand the value of things, and they'll start to see perhaps why they couldn't go on that particular trip or why they couldn't do that particular thing if it happens to be too expensive and not affordable for you. But just help them to see that and understand why that's the case. I hope that's been helpful, guys. Leave a comment below, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.